today we're going to be working largely half kneeling position. Love using the half kneeling position for mobilizing my gait mechanics specific to the hips and the spine. We'll also do a little bit of foot mobility, so using the wedge. I want to get into kind of a more of an intermediate to advanced level of our standing foot mobility. So we're going to start with our crocodile breath, doing standing crocodile breath. So I want to have feet about shoulder width apart. Want to feel that kind of rock forward and backwards, heels to the ball of the feet, so that we can find that kind of dead center where our center of gravity is right through the arch of the feet. Even weight on the heels, even weight on the balls of the feet, making our nice big C shapes with our hands. Hands are going below the rib cage, above the hip bones in that nice meaty section of the abdominal wall. Thumbs are going to go in the back so that we can feel some of that low back musculature. Index fingers are wrapping around so that we get a little bit of the abdominal musculature. Palms are pressing into that side body space. And I want to imagine that we're going to breathe like a crocodile, or like we're blowing up a balloon. As we inhale, I want to feel the abdominal wall expanding out in all directions. So I want to feel pressure pushing forward into the index fingers, pressure expanding out into the low back, into our thumbs, and out through the sides into the palms. So we're going to take nice inhale breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and as we exhale, we're drawing our navel up and in, and we're cinching down the hands on that exhale to create resistance so that we can feel that expanding of the balloon on the inhale. We'll get a good 5 up to 10 nice slow breaths. And I want to start small. Keep that inhale small to start with. And with each inhale, we're seeing if we can expand that balloon out a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. As you're getting into this breath, a few other things that we can kind of focus on. I want to stay nice and tall through the spine, so I don't want to feel myself getting slouching, folding over as I go. I want to feel that nice height of the spine. As we inhale, we're going to be filling up into tension. As we exhale, notice if you're holding tension in the shoulders, if you're holding the shoulders tight and rigid. Allow the shoulders to soften. Feel those shoulder blades soften down to the floor on the exhale. Let that focus of inhale be just at that abdominal wall section of the body. I don't want it to come up too much other than maintaining the height of the spine. Again, if you feel the shoulders tensing up, allow them to soften down on that exhale. Once we get 5 to 10 breaths, we can let those arms soften down, and we're going to pick up our staff. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder mobility, and then we're going to do some foot mobility. So again, nice shoulder width stance through the feet, weight even through the balls of the feet and the heels, grabbing the staff shoulder width apart. This is where I want to imagine we're bending or breaking that staff in two. I want to feel that at the wrists. I want to feel it at the elbows. Elbows are spiraling up towards the ceiling. And I want to feel it in the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades are downwardly rotating, moving into our back hip pockets. We'll start with the staff in front of the hips. We're going to come back into that breath, filling up that crocodile breath on the inhale, exhale, drawing our navel into the spine. And I want to play with a little bit of pelvic tilt. As we inhale, allow the pelvis to tilt forward so that we get some sway in that low back. As we exhale, actively scoop that pelvis so that we feel a little stretch in the low back. Your tailbone's going to tuck underneath. Inhale, belly opens up, tailbone sticks out, get that sway in the back. Exhale and scoop. I'm still maintaining that bending of the staff, so my shoulders are very actively trying to bend or break the staff. Notice, how does that low back feel? Is there some tightness? Is there some tension in it? Which direction is it more tight? Is it more tight as you inhale, going forward with the pelvis, taking that low back into extension? Or is it tighter as you scoop, taking that low back into flexion? Also start to feel your core, that abdominal core, tighten and brace as you scoop, because I want to maintain that braced core. That helps to keep that rib cage down. On our next inhale, as we exhale, feel that braced core. We're now bringing our elbows up towards our ears. I want to see how far can I bring my elbows up without losing my braced core and without that rib cage starting to stick out. On our inhale, letting the arms down, exhale, up and squeeze. And you don't have to let the arms all the way down. You can just let them soften a little bit down on the inhale. Open up that belly, feel that sway in the back. Exhale, scoop as we pull. And with each one, we're seeing if we can squeeze those elbows a little bit more back towards the ears. I want to watch out for sticking the head forward, extending that chin as we pull. I want to maintain that nice tall spine, keeping that height of the spine as we scoop and pull. After about 10, we'll flip the staff so that it's behind the body. Palms are facing backwards. This is still bending or breaking the staff, but I want to feel that bend or break behind, away from the body. So elbow pits are still spiraling forward. Shoulder blades are still packing down and back. From here, nice inhale. We can fill up that nice crocodile breath. Pelvis is still tilting forward. Exhale, scoop as we lift elbows up towards the ceiling. Inhale as we let it soften. Exhale as we scoop and lift. As we lift, I want to continue to actively try to bend or break the staff. I want to make sure that the shoulder blades are not rounding forward as we lift. I want to keep that chest open as we lift, which means I have to continue to actively try to bend the staff. Go slow on this. Don't rush it. Nice slow inhale, nice slow exhale. The staff is moving at the speed of your breath. After about 10 reps, we're going to flip the palms to the opposite side of the staff. Doing the same thing. Still continuing to bend the staff away from the body. So we still have that nice open chest. Shoulder blades are still packed down towards the hips as we exhale and scoop. Inhale, opening up the belly, nice sway in the back as we soften the shoulders. Again, going slow with the speed of your breath. This is a good area to kind of notice how does that right shoulder feel compared to the left shoulder, especially through the front of the shoulders. Once we get about 10 reps, we're going to bring the staff back to the front of the body, and now we're going to get a nice wide grip on the staff. From here, we're playing with seeing how far can we bring that staff up to the head, over the head, and beyond. If you have good mobility and you're able to go all the way through without pain, we can bring it all the way to the back of the hip and then back forward. If you're not able to go all the way through, I don't want to walk it through. We're seeing how far can you bring it up and then just bringing it right back down. And when you get to that end point, I want to see if we can squeeze a little bit more range in without going into pain. This needs to be not painful. Find that range, bring it all the way back. Go slow, be smooth, don't force it. And again, if you're able to carry it all the way through, keep it slow. Again, I want to make sure it is not painful. I want to think about all we're doing here really is just greasing the grooves, coating the joint of the synovial joint of that shoulder with lubrication, getting that synovial fluid in there like WD-40, keep things moving nice and smooth. All right, now we're going to move to the feet. I'm going to change my camera. So we're going to go through a little bit more, go through our wedge work. If you find that you have balance issues, it is okay to use a staff, a cane, or something else for balance. Countertop, chair, couch works great. Starting without the wedge, we're going to get into a nice wide stance with the feet facing forward. I'm bringing my right foot a little bit more forward than my left, and I want to shift my weight so I have about 70% of my weight is on my right foot. I want to make sure the toe and the ball of the foot are nice and spread as wide as possible. And then we're going to lightly lift the heel off the floor, just enough that we can slide a piece of paper underneath it. I don't want to come really high. The higher the heel comes up, the more I'm going to lose connection with the ball of the pinky toe. So we're keeping that heel lightly lifted, weight is shifted over on top of it, toes and balls of the feet are spread, and we're starting out with our rotation of the knee. Moving the knee to internal rotation and then external rotation. But as we do so, I want to maintain the grounding nature of the ball of the foot all the way across. As my knee turns in, I don't want the ball of the pinky toe lifting up off the floor. It needs to stay grounded and connected. As I externally rotate, I don't want my ball of the big toe moving off the floor. It needs to stay grounded and connected as we move back and forth. And if you look at your heel related to the knee, as the knee turns out, the heel turns in. And as the knee turns in, the heel turns out. And what's happening at the level of the foot, since we're maintaining that grounded connection throughout the midfoot, means that, or the forefoot, that means that all those joints through the midfoot are being wrung out like a washcloth. All those joints in that midfoot area are synovial joints. They have synovial fluid. We're doing the same thing with our foot as we do with our shoulder. We're just coating those joints with synovial fluid, basically spraying some WD-40 in there to make sure that everything is able to move. We're then going to take our left foot and we're going to walk it a little bit forward, but we're still focusing on that back foot. We're shifting weight onto the left side, but that right foot is still the foot that we're focusing on. Ball of the foot is still spread. I'm now reaching the heel to the floor without shifting my weight back onto it, and actively reaching my knee like I'm trying to touch the wall behind me. The more I'm able to root that heel down and reach the knee back, you may feel some stretch through the front of that hip. From here, We're gonna soften that back knee. We're gonna plant through the ball of the foot and drive that heel straight up to the ceiling. And then reaching it back, rooting that heel, actively straightening the knee. Again, without shifting weight back. I wanna keep most of my weight forward on my left foot. Moving back and forth, driving through that ball of the foot, and then reaching the heel to the floor, actively straightening that knee. Once we get about 5 of those, I'm now going to play with that internal to external rotation of the knee. I'm going to, as I internally rotate, I'm only going to press through the ball of the big toe. I'm going to let the ball of the pinky toe kind of off the floor. Coming back to rooting that heel, straightening the knee. Then I'm externally rotating that knee. Now as I come forward, that knee's out more and I'm pressing more through the ball of the pinky toe side. And going back and forth, rotating in, going to the ball of the big toe, rotating out, going into the ball of the pinky toe. Good. Then we're going to switch legs. So we're already in position. Left leg is forward. Spread the ball of that the left foot wide. More weight is shifted over on that left foot, and the heel is lightly off the floor. Going into our rotations of the hip, our knee or external rotation of the hip, internal rotation at the hip. Keeping that ball of the foot grounded to the floor. Notice if this foot feels tighter or less tight than the other foot. More than likely, one foot feels a little bit more mobile, is a little bit easier. My left foot is generally stiffer than my right foot. Once we get about 5 reps on that, we're going to take that right foot, step it forward, shift weight now onto that right foot, reach that left heel back without shifting your weight onto it, actively straightening that knee. Again, can you feel that stretch through the front of the hip? Softening the knee, planting through the ball of the foot, drive that heel straight up to the ceiling, then actively reach the heel to the floor, actively reach the knee behind you. Once we get 5, now we're going to work that rotating the knee in to out. We'll let that knee rotate in, plant through the ball of the big toe, root back, and then rotate that knee out. As you soften, let that knee track outward, plant more through the ball of the pinky toe. Again, how does this foot feel compared to the other foot? Was one foot a little stiffer, tighter? Maybe it's tighter through the big toe line. Maybe it's tighter through the pinky toe line. Those are important things to kind of pay attention to. All right, now we're going to add the wedge. We're going to do a lot of the same movements. So we're coming back to our right foot, bringing that wedge at a 45-degree angle so that it slides underneath the ball of the big toe, ball of the pinky toe, ball of the third toe, but the 4th and 5th toes are on the floor. The balls of the 4th and 5th toes are on the floor. This is preloading that ball of big toe side of the foot. We're going to shift weight onto that right side, lightly lift the heel off the floor, and we're coming back to those rotations of the knee. Again, keeping the ball of the foot spread wide, keeping it grounded throughout, big toe side all the way to the pinky toe side. Being on the wedge, you may find that this makes a deeper stretch. Or just feels like it's more active. It may feel more fatiguing into the foot. Once we get 5 reps, bringing that back foot forward, shifting it weight to the left foot. We're still focusing on that back leg. Actively reaching the heel to the floor, actively straightening the knee to the wall behind, and then softening, planting through the ball of the big toe, actively reaching the heel, actively straightening the knee. Now, once we get 5 reps on this, we're not going to switch to the other side just yet. We're actually going to bring that left foot back. And now we're going to take the wedge and we're going to slide it at a 45-degree angle through the ball of the pinky toe side. So the wedge will go underneath the ball of the pinky toe, the ball of the 4th toe, and the ball of the 3rd toe. But the big toe and the 2nd toe are still on the floor. Shifting weight forward onto that foot, lightly lifting the heel off the ground, coming back to our rotations of the knee. Again, keep the ball of the foot spread as wide as you can, and try not to lose grounded connection of the ball of the big toe or ball of the pinky toe, depending, where that knee is tracking. I don't want that big pinky toe coming up when the knee goes in. I don't want the big toe coming up when the knee rotates out. Once we get 5 reps, again, bringing that left foot forward, shifting weight onto the left side, still working that right leg. Actively reach that heel to the floor, actively straighten the knee. Then when we soften that knee and plant straight through, we're now feeling that pressure through the ball of the pinky toe side more. Actively reaching the knee, actively reaching the heel, actively reaching that knee to the wall behind us. And again, just 5 reps of each of these. And then we get to switch to the other foot. So, left foot is now forward, sliding the wedge so that it goes underneath the ball of the big toe, 2nd toe, and 3rd toes. 4th and 5th knuckles of the ball, 4th and 5th are still on the floor. Spread the ball of the foot wide as you can. Lightly lift that heel off the floor. Shift weight lightly over onto that leg. And now we're doing that same internal to external rotation at the knee. Once we get 5 reps, we're taking that back foot, stepping it forward, shifting weight more onto that side, actively reaching through the heel to the floor, actively straightening that knee, feel that stretch lightly through the front of the hip, and then soften the knee, planting more into the ball of the big toe side, driving that heel up to the ceiling lightly, and then reaching that heel back down, straightening the knee. Once we get 5 of these, we're going to bring that front foot back again. We're going to replace the wedge to the outside pinky toe side, ball of the pinky toe, ball of the fourth toe, ball of the third toe. Big toe and second toe are still on the floor. Weight shifts onto that leg, lightly lift the heel, keep the ball of the foot spread wide, working that internal to external rotation. Again, notice, how does this foot feel compared to the other foot? If one foot feels stiffer and tighter on these movements than the other foot, that's going to give us a lot of indication of things going on in our gait mechanics. So it's just, I want to maintain as much mobility in both feet. I'm trying to maintain as much balance in both feet as possible. Once we get 5, bringing that back foot forward, shifting weight over it, actively reaching the heel, actively straightening the knee. And then when we soften that knee and we plant, we're planting more into the ball of the pinky toe side. Reaching the heel back, straightening the knee. By the time we get to the end of this, you may find that your feet are getting a little fatigued, like they've gotten some work. The wedge is going to amplify mobility. And since we're doing this in a loaded position, we're also working those muscles at a very low level, stability level. So if we're getting into deeper layers of mobility than you're used to getting, you're going to have some fatigue in the feet. You might even find that you have some soreness in your feet over the next couple of days. All right, we can kick the wedge off to the side. Now we're getting into our half kneeling position. So in half kneeling, let me have my wedge or my staff. In half kneeling, I want to have my big toe tucked underneath. I want to be nice and lined up, knee through the hip, through the shoulder, through my ear. So the staff can be a nice little indicator to show, like, am I stacked? Head over shoulders, over hips, over knee. And again, big toe is tucked. I want it tucked as if I'm going to be able to drive off that big toe into a dead sprint. From here, I want to come back into our breath. Nice inhale, filling up that abdominal breath. Pelvis, the knee side pelvis that is down is going to turn down towards the floor, getting that sway in the back, belly opening up. Exhale, we're drawing navel up and into the spine as we scoop. See if you can feel that stretch through the front of the hip. And this one's a good one to kind of notice, how tight does the front of that hip feel, because we're going to compare it to the other side. And things I want to relate to what we're feeling in the front of the hip. We just did a good amount of big toe mobility or foot mobility. What you're probably going to find is that your foot that has a stiffer big toe probably is also stiffer, tighter mobility-wise in the front of the hip doing this movement. So that's an important assessment point. After about 5 reps, we're going to turn and switch to the other side. Again, big toe tucked underneath, nicely stacked, shoulder, ear over hip, over knee. Inhale, fills up that belly, nice sway in the back. Exhale, drawing the navel up and in as we scoop. Again, feel, how does the front of that hip feel with that compared to the other side? Once we do 5 on that side, we're going to switch back to the other side. Now we're going to do the same movement with the scoop, but we're going to add a lunge to it. And our lunge is going to pull us out of that scoop. It's impossible to lunge forward and maintain that same scoop of the pelvis. However, I want to try to actively resist losing that scoop. So when we're stacked at the top, we're exhale, draw that navel in, scoop, and really try to hold that scoop. And from here, we're lunging forward. In my lunge, I don't want to lunge forward where I'm moving my head forward of my shoulders, forward of my hips. I want to keep head, shoulder, and hips together as I slide them forward as one unit, and I'm trying to resist losing that scoop. When we come back up, nice inhale, exhale, reacquire your scoop, and then feel that nice slow lunge forward as you exhale. Inhale brings us back up. Exhale, scoop, and drawing out that traction stretch of that lunge. Once we've done 5 on that side, we can switch to the other side. Nice inhale, filling up that bowl, that belly. Exhale, scoop. Hold that scoop, really lock it in as you apply lunge. You may notice that one side is much stiffer than the other side. My left side is significantly tighter. As I get into it, got to move a little bit slower to try to really hold that scoop as well as I can, because it wants to unlock very, very quickly. I don't want to force it. I want to move into it slowly, cautiously, safely, non-painfully. With that big toe tucked, you may find you're also feeling more tightness on that big toe if you're also finding more tightness in the front of that hip. That's an important pattern that there's going to be a relationship between. All right, switching back to the first side. I'm changing my position because we're going to be going in, adding in our arm, but everything else from the mechanics of our inhale breath and our scoop are going to be the same. We're no longer lunging forward. So nice inhale into that belly. Exhale, scoop, lock that scoop in. Now the side that our knee is down, that hand is going to lift and reach straight up to the ceiling. And I want to feel that reach, drawing up that first stretch from the front of the hip. I want to feel it moving that up into kind of the abdominal viscera. Inhale, we can let that shoulder soften as we belly opens up, sway in the back. Exhale, scoop, and see if you can lift a little higher. Now, one thing I want to avoid on this, I don't want to drop my opposite shoulder in order to get that lift. I want that shoulder to stay at the same height as I elevate the side that I'm reaching with elevates. I don't want to drop it. I don't want to side bend. So feel that nice scoop, draw that stretch up. See if you can reach up a little higher on each one. And then we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. Nice inhale, fill up that belly. Exhale, navel to spine, scoop, and add that lift. My left hip is the tighter hip. This is tighter on this side, adding in that lift and reach. So these are, I'm noticing the imbalances in my body. These are imbalances in my gait, which is why I want to work on them every day. There's always going to be some level of imbalance. But if I don't work to have better balance, then the imbalance will continue to wind itself more and more every day. So what is a little bit of an imbalance today will grow in its imbalance day after day if I'm not working in order to bring a little bit closer to balance back into my body. Once we get 5, we're going to switch back to the other side, and now we're going to grab our staff. So we're still doing the same action with the hip. Inhale, pelvis goes forward. Exhale, we scoop, feeling that navel to spine. We're now going to bring the staff so that it's resting on the front tips of both shoulders. Let your elbows lift up, and we're going to cross hands to hold the staff in place. The staff is here in order to help keep our shoulders square together. I want our shoulders moving as one unit. We're going to now go into rotation. So inhale into that belly. As we exhale, scoop, locking into that back hip. We're now letting the shoulders turn as far as they can towards the wall at our side. Inhale, we bring it back forward, filling up that belly, pelvis tilts forward. One other thing I want to do here is I want to find a point on the wall in front of us and stare at that point. Don't take your eyes, that helps. I want to keep our head in one position as we move and rotate around it. So as you scoop, eyes are fixed forward. We're seeing how far can you rotate and squeeze into it. Feel that abdominal core, really the oblique core, engage as you squeeze. Inhale as you bring it back to the front. And one last little point to pay attention to is as I turn and rotate, I don't want my knee to turn with me. I need my lower body to be maintaining a counter rotation. So if anything, I want to feel my lower body moving in the opposite direction from the direction that I am turning. And then we'll flip back or flip to the other side. Again, tucking that toe. Nice inhale into the belly, sway in the back, exhale, scoop. Eyes are on the horizon as we turn and rotate into it. Again, as we squeeze, I want to feel that oblique core active. As I squeeze into it, I'm still actively scooping at the pelvis too. So really I should feel this stretch at the front of the hip, moving in an oblique direction as I rotate. And these are great movements to compare. How much rotation do you have going to the right compared to the left? Did you notice different levels of activation, tightness, tension on one side compared to the other side? All right, now we're going to get into our V-sit position, getting nice and wide with our feet. Balls or tops of the feet are pulled back like you're trying to touch your shins. Knees are actively reaching to the floor. I want to feel those quads kind of engaged. Hands are coming down to the floor behind the hips, grounding through the palms. And we're going to spiral those elbows, turn those elbows out and away so that we feel the shoulder blades packed down and back. I don't want to be rounded forward in the shoulders. I want to feel that rounded back, pressing down, trying to get as much height in the spine as we can. From here, we're working rotation in the hip, paying attention to our kneecaps. Nice inhale as our knees are facing straight up to the ceiling. Exhale as we turn the knees out as if you're trying to touch the floor on the outside of the legs. Inhale as we bring them back up to center. Exhale as we try to touch the floor to the inside of our legs. Keep those feet actively pulled towards the shin. Keep the knees actively reaching down to the floor. The more active you are in the knee and the foot, the deeper you should feel this mobility in the hip, especially getting into those deep rotators of the hip. And notice how much rotation do you have on your right leg compared to your left leg. How far does that knee travel in on both sides? How far does it travel out? Where does it feel tight? Do you feel tighter on one side than you do on the other? And how does that tightness relate to the range of motion? If one side moves more than the other side, does the tightness correlate to that? You might find that the side that moves more also feels tighter, which might sound counterintuitive. All right, so now we're going to take our shin box, or take our V-sit into our shin box position, and we're going to get into our folds. And I want to work folds going side to side, but I kind of want to go through our V-sit as our transition. So I'm in my left side shin box. I'm just going to get into a nice, comfortable forward fold. Reaching through the hands. I don't want the head to drop down. I want to keep the spine tall, so I don't want to drop my head or my chest straight down to the floor. I want to slide the hands forward as I exhale, inhale as I come all the way back up. And from here, we're going to reach into our V-sit and then transition across to the other side, shin box. And then doing the same nice, slow, easy fold. As we inhale, coming up, legs reach out for our V. Transition to the other side. And we're going to go side to side. And we're going to do a good 10 up to 20 reps. Working back and forth through our V-sit into our shin box. Start to notice, how does it feel when you go into the right side fold compared to the left side fold. Notice, how does it feel coming out of your shin box into the V, from your right side shin box into the V, compared to coming out of your left side shin box into your V. You might find different types of tension, stretch, clunkiness as you move in one direction that is more than when you move in the other direction. Those are very, very useful bits of information. They tell us a lot about how your body is moving. Once we have a good 5 or so reps side to side, now as you move into your shin box, we're going to start to open up that shin box by sliding that back leg back a little bit further as we get into our fold. When you come back up, you can slide it back in and then find that V. Same thing to the other side. Slide that back leg just a little bit. And with each one, we can start to slide that back leg a little bit more and a little bit more. From this action of going from shin box into V and back, you might find that you kind of scooch forward and you have to reorientate yourself back to the back of your mat or to the back of the floor. That's fairly normal. And again, we're slowly getting a little bit more opened up with that back hip as we get closer and closer to what we would consider kind of a yoga class pigeon pose. And we'll get a good 2, maybe 3 more side to side. All right, so last thing we're going to do is coming all the way down to our back. We're going to do just a couple of baby roll stretches, bringing arms up into a nice Y position. If you find that your shoulders are tight and the elbows stay lifted off the floor, you can bring that Y a little wider until they rest comfortably. Feet are going to be shoulder width apart. I want the toes straight up to the ceiling. And I kind of want that same active, like you're trying to pull the top of your feet back towards the shins. And we're putting some light pressure through the heels, about 5 pounds of pressure in each heel. From here, let's take a few nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, filling up that crocodile breath. We're going to do some reaches across, but I want to make sure that this is not painful in the back. So we have to go slowly. On our next inhale, as we exhale, we're going to turn our eyes, we're going to lift our head and turn our eyes to the hand that we're reaching, and we're going to match hands, letting that hand reach across, seeing if we can get it to match to the top, to opposite hand. Inhale, we're going to bring it back. Exhale, turn your head, lift and turn your head and reach. Match hands the best you can. I want to keep the feet facing up towards the ceiling, actively pulling the tops of the feet down. Keep that 5 pounds of pressure through both heels. You might find that's really difficult to do as you reach and rotate. You might find it's harder to do in one direction than it is in the other direction. Again, that's very useful information, especially if there's pain or some kind of other issue in the body that we want to work on. How you move side to side matters. How it feels is a really good assessment point for us. Does one side feel tighter, more restricted, or are you just not able to get as far? Or do you notice that your foot wants to help by lifting up or pushing down harder? We'll come back to our starting point with still hands up at a Y. Now we're going to lift one leg and we're going to reach with those toes across. And I want to keep that leg high as if we're reaching up to a shelf. And I want to reach, let that hip rotate over until it pulls your shoulder blade off the floor. I want to keep some contact with the back of the hand, and we're kind of lightly reaching away through those fingertips. Inhale as we come back to center. Exhale as we lift and reach across. I want to point those toes, really reach through the toes, and then reach away through the fingers. Feel that nice long stretch from fingertip to toe tip, making sure that we are not moving into pain. If this is painful, then you need to back off to the point where it feels good and juicy, not painful. Once we get good and balanced side to side, we'll come back to the floor, bring our feet flat, knees bent. We're going to make our nice big C shapes with our hands again, thumbs in the back, index fingers in the front, hands below the ribs and above that hip bone. Nice inhale, Feel that abdominal wall expand like a balloon. Exhale, navel to spine as you cinch the hands down to create more resistance for your next inhale breath. As you inhale, you're breathing into tension. As you exhale, notice the shoulders, allow them to soften to the floor. Don't hold tension in them. Don't feel them lifting up. Allow them to soften down to the floor. Once we get 3 or so breaths, we can let our hands relax, palms up. That'll help the shoulders relax even more, but continue to breathe into that crocodile breath. Feel that expansion into the abdominal wall in all directions. Exhale, navel into spine as you let tension melt to the floor. Last area we'll kind of focus on is allowing that breath to move into the ribs, into the chest, into the upper back and neck. Same crocodile or balloon idea, just not focusing on the abdominal wall so much. Feel it expand like a balloon on the inhale, breathing into tension, and then exhale, allow that tension to just melt into the floor.